There's a word that cuts deeper than most insults. Fool. Now, you know when somebody calls you a fool, that doesn't feel too good. It's a label we give people who keep making the same bad choices over and over. People who trust when they shouldn't. People who believe lies they've already seen proven false. People who stay in situations that hurt them. I'm quite sure we all know people who have stayed in relationships that are abusive or just not there, and they stay too long. Most people assume foolishness means lack of intelligence or common sense, but that assumption is wrong. Foolish behavior often comes from emotional pain and not ignorance, but most people don't know that. It's about hope overpowering experience and fear overpowering logic. Many people know someone who fits this pattern. The friend who keeps going back to someone who treats them badly. The relative who believes empty promises year after year. The person who tolerates disrespect because they're afraid of starting over. And in quiet, honest moments, many people recognize that fool in themselves. The times they ignored the red flags. The times they accepted excuses instead of truth. The times they stayed because being alone felt worse than being mistreated. This is not about mocking foolish people. This is about understanding why loneliness, fear, and emotional hunger can make even intelligent people tolerate things they know are wrong. One of the strongest drivers of foolish behavior is the fear of loneliness. Loneliness distorts judgment in powerful ways. When someone is afraid of being alone, their standards shift. What once felt unacceptable starts to feel manageable. What once felt like a deal breaker becomes something I can live with. People tolerate disrespect because the alternative is silence. They accept emotional neglect because the alternative is an empty home. They stay in harmful relationships because losing connection feels more painful than enduring harm. Loneliness is not just emotional discomfort. Psychologically, it activates the same areas of the brain as physical pain. Most people don't know that. When someone is chronically lonely, their decisions become about pain avoidance, not self-respect. Staying becomes survival. This is why foolishness often looks irrational from the outside. Observers ask, why don't they just leave? But instead, the person isn't choosing happiness over misery. They've chosen familiar pain over terrifying isolation. Another major factor is wishful thinking. When someone desperately wants connection, they interpret crumbs as commitment. They see potential instead of patterns. They believe apologies instead of behavior. Hope becomes a shield against reality. The brain supports this through confirmation bias. Evidence that supports the desired belief is accepted. Evidence that challenges it is explained away. The fool isn't blind to red flags. They are negotiating with them. This connects closely to trauma bonding and emotional manipulation. When someone alternates between kindness and cruelty, the brain becomes addicted to the highs. The inconsistency strengthens attachment. The fear of losing the occasional good moments keeps the person stuck. Manipulative people understand this. They don't need to be kind all the time. They just need to be kind enough to keep hope alive. And someone afraid of loneliness will cling to that hope, even when it hurts. Low self-worth deepens this pattern. People who don't believe they deserve better accept less. They confuse tolerance with loyalty. They mistake endurance for love. Mistreatment feels familiar, even justified. Attachment styles play a role here. Those with anxious attachment often prioritize connection at any cost. They fear abandonment more than disrespect. Being chosen, even poorly, feels better than being alone. Another layer is optimism bias, the belief that bad outcomes happen to others, not to you. Lonely people convince themselves they're different, that this situation will turn around, that their patience will be rewarded. When reality proves otherwise, ego protection steps in. Instead of learning, they rationalize. They changed. Circumstances were the problem. Admitting foolishness would mean admitting time, love, and energy were wasted. Sunk cost fallacy keeps people trapped even longer. The more they invest, the harder it becomes to leave. Walking away feels like admitting failure. Staying feels like hope. Words over actions also trap the lonely. Promises feel comforting. Explanations soothe the fear. Actions demand confrontation with reality. So the fool chooses the story that hurts less. Sometimes foolishness becomes collective. Groups normalize harmful beliefs. Shared denial feels safer than standing alone. Loneliness inside a group feels less painful than loneliness outside of it. All of this shows one truth. Foolishness is rarely about intelligence. It's about emotional needs overpowering judgment, especially the fear of being alone. Everyone has been foolish at some point, we have to admit. Everyone has stayed too long at some point and in some situation, trusting too easily, or ignored what they knew was wrong. That doesn't make someone weak. It makes them human. The difference between temporary foolishness and a foolish life is reflection. Growth starts when someone admits the pattern instead of defending it. If you recognize yourself here, understand this: you are not broken. You've been trying to meet emotional needs in unhealthy ways, and loneliness has been louder than your instincts. Facing loneliness is uncomfortable. Leaving familiar pain feels terrifying. There is grief in admitting time was wasted, surely. But staying foolish costs more than walking away ever will. Freedom begins when you value yourself more than the comfort of familiar suffering. When you choose truth over hope that keeps hurting you. No one is destined to be a fool forever unless they choose to remain one. Remember that. So when someone calls you a fool, in these situations where you know it's loneliness that's pushing you to stay, understand it's not a permanent position. But yet, again, no matter who you are listening to this, I'm quite sure if you've lived a long enough life, and let's just pick relationships, right? It could be a job where you're not paid what you should be getting, your value, your worth. But most often it's that relationship between a man and a woman that is just not proper, it's just not right. And let's just say the woman because we have situations where men are abused or neglected, but more commonly it's the woman. And she has to deal with infidelity, the cheating, the abuse, emotional, and sometimes, unfortunately, physical. And it's unfortunate when it's emotional also, because that can hurt just as much without the scars or the bruises. And for some reason, they keep on staying, and when other people can see the pattern and they refuse to see the pattern. And this part stems from another conversation that I had with a good friend of mine earlier today, actually through voicemail. I fell asleep on him. So I had to give him the message this morning. You know how it is when you're voicemailing and you just pass out. Well, we were speaking about sexuality, and we both agreed that sexuality isn't just about the actual act that you see physically. It's something more to it, and the way we're raised and the way we're wired affects it and how we receive it. And I will be talking about that in depth. There's going to have to be an adult-based conversation that will not go on YouTube, because they will not tolerate the details of what we're going to be saying. And it won't be something that we're trying to make some lewd comments, but we will go in with regular talk and we will speak about our experiences. That I promise. But it will be on LANCESCURV.com. That's why you have to go to LANCESCURV.com, put in your email so you can get all of the work that we do into your email inbox. That way, when shadow banning starts, we can't be touched. LANCESCURVX.com. You'll see it on this banner. Anyway, bringing that back to this situation as far as loneliness is concerned, it's the way you were wired growing up. And we all can get lonely and get desperate. But depending on how you were raised, you can have more of a full tank of being self-sufficient, guarding against being the victim of loneliness and blurring your what you'll tolerate, as opposed to another situation growing up where you may have felt lonely then, when you may have felt neglected then, when you may not have gotten the love from your environment, your parents, your siblings, your classmates, whatever it may be. And you get older, and this triggers it off, where if you are saturated with love and companionship, being physically alone won't bother you. But then again, remember, you can be alone and not lonely, right? So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. But the loneliness aspect, you can be in a crowd of people that you know and still feel lonely because you have no real deep connection. And us as human beings, we're made for that. We're made for a deep human connection. And it doesn't mean you have to have a deep human connection with everyone. But these people who, in this discussion, we've called foolish from the outside, because some people will call you foolish when you stay too long. The people who are manipulating and sucking the energy out of you, they have the ability to spot you. They have the ability to see your voids. And it seems as though many things that I've recently talked about, there's some of the same principles going on, because they can test you, right? And these vampires take set on you as a mark because, oh, this is free energy. This is free loyalty, because he or she is so hungry for the human connection and afraid of the loneliness that I can get away with so much more, you see? And that's where we have the problem, because that person who fears the loneliness, they can't see that. And they have to see it for themselves, because you know what? You can tell them so many times as a friend, you see, but they won't see it until they have to see it. And it's unfortunate, because you know what? It doesn't have to go that way, but it does for many people. And so many people go to their graves in the same situations, and situations will repeat themselves because I've seen it where, and I'm quite sure you've seen this, where so many people that are in these types of relationships will leapfrog from one, tell you that they learned their lesson and they'll never go back to that type of situation again, but in the midnight hour, the fear of loneliness, and it's in their head too. They may have that psychophysical pain, but that emotional pain from being lonely before, and they don't want to go back to that, or they just have a fear of it from what I've seen. And guess what? I don't know what it is or how these people can spot it, but it's a spiritual thing. And these people who spot the lonely people or people who feel loneliness, they're like spiritual vampires. They know. It's almost like on a more carnal level. I can't really say carnal, but I've used that word, right? It's like guys that I know that were street corner drug dealers. And the only thing that you would notice about them is that they're on that corner. So when you grew up in the inner city, you know that, okay, you out there doing something you shouldn't do. I mean, we all meet sometime. We run into somebody at the corner, say, hey man, how you, I haven't seen you in months, man, what's going on? And you're standing there talking. You might stand there and talk for a long time, but even if you spot two people talking in a friendly way and you see the excitement on their faces because they haven't seen each other in a long time, if they stood there for 3 hours, you would know that's what they're doing. They're talking because they're catching up. It's just a whole different vibe. But the drug dealer, who can be also like the vampire, can mask himself while being on that corner. He'll get right on the corner and stand on one side of the building that's on the corner, so that other street doesn't see them. And they'll jump to the other side, or they'll kneel down beside a car talking to somebody. And they know instead of standing up, it's better for them to kneel because cars going by won't see them, right? So they become masters at that. But what they've really become masters at, and I've seen guys that I know personally. Now, I don't stand out on corners with people selling drugs, right? I've stood back a while, and observe while talking to maybe another friend, maybe across the street. But these guys who take more of a risk, they have the ability to know who's looking to cop drugs, right? Now, it's obvious sometimes. Now, if you have a person who is abusing crack, they have no place to live, they have no place to wash, you can see how emaciated they are. You can see that they haven't taken a bath maybe in 2 days, as well as those who do. Now, the easy ones you can spot, like, okay, they're coming for some drugs. Now, foolish drug dealers don't sell to people that they don't know, right? I mean, I've never been that, but that's common sense for anybody who's grown up in the inner city. Because that could be a sting. That could be a setup. And I've seen guys who are in the know, no, what you mean? I don't sell that stuff. Get away from me with that. Meanwhile, they do sell it, but they want to send a message that they don't, even though the authorities have been watching them, right? But then you have these guys who are well-dressed, and I've seen it, and I'll give you an example. There was a pastor that I knew, right? And his car was in the shop. And he would take the bus sometimes. He always had somebody who wanted to ride him around or whatever because his car was all messed up. And it was going to take about a week and a half, 2 weeks to get the parts. It was a luxury car, exotic. So sometimes he wouldn't bug people. He'd hop on the bus. Now, I couldn't believe this, and I wouldn't have known this unless he happened to take the bus. Now, I wasn't a bus driver at this point. I was somebody who was walking down the street, and I saw a known, and this is in Orlando, I saw a known drug dealer who's on the corner, a little bit back from the corner, and this pastor was walking down the street, obviously passing him in the street. It's not a crime to pass a drug dealer in the street if you have nothing to do with that world. But he slowed down, and the drug dealer turned around toward him, smiled, the pastor smiled, and they shook hands. I saw the transaction rather, in their shaking of hands. The pastor was purchasing crack. I couldn't believe it. The money was already in his hand, held down by his thumb. I was close enough to see this. And he really like shook the hand. They want to save face for the pastor. The drug dealer already had a little bag of crack in his hand. And as they shook hands, extended, they had peeled off what they wanted. He took the money and the pastor took the crack. And he stood there for 15 seconds and acted like he was talking to him and waved and kept going. Covert, I'm telling you, right? So some people are obvious. The drug dealer knew the pastor was a crackhead, but maybe he was picking his stuff up in his car when he had it. Then you have the ones who are obvious. So pulling this back to what we're talking about today, the spiritual vampires can see when spiritually you're neglected. You look like that really bad crackhead to that manipulator, and he could see what you're on. And he zooms in because you are so needy for companionship. You are so needy to be hugged. You are so needy for affection. Even if it's false affection, you just want something that can pacify you. And so many of us out here are walking around this way. And this is why so many of us are going to get into bad relationships where it's lopsided, where you're giving more and that manipulator is taking because he can see it. And it won't ever stop until you take care of that void within yourself and you see and find healthier alternatives. Because again, it's very much a human need to be connected. There's nothing wrong with that. This is why many of us, or many, let's just say many women, maybe some men, but more women have opportunities for the physical intimacies than men do in this society. I mean, you could be at the supermarket with rollers in your hair. You could, let's just be funny. You could have diarrhea. You could be on your monthly and dudes will still come. They won't know that, but they'll still try to hit on you. And you don't even have that on your mind. You can be minding your business with that's the last thing on your mind is meeting a man and hit everywhere. The way they look at you, the way they wink at you, they could even be with their own woman and they're winking at you a certain way, trying to talk to you, trying to get your attention. It never stops. But why is it that so many women who may not have had to deal with that before or didn't find themselves in that extreme place of loneliness? Maybe it was something that was more manageable, but now their life changed. They moved somewhere else. They broke up with someone and now they're on fire. And it's so easy to find yourself in certain situations. And again, like I said, it doesn't mean you're going out there ruled by sex. That's not it. But then a lot of women will tolerate that when they know the man is coming at them that way. See? And they will give that up to the man just to feel like she's in something. And it doesn't mean she met the man 1 minute and then the next minute they're in the alleyway doing their thing. It may take time, the same time, but she knows in the back of her mind that this is what he wants, right? And fellas, all women are not walking around with this being the first thing that they want to get into. Understand that. But the manipulators know this. They know this. This is why they focus on certain types. And it's not like it's something written across your forehead. So you might ask me, well, how do I know what type I am? Well, you should know already, right? But no, women don't walk around like this unless they do purposely advertise a little bit to get a little more attention that they're already going to get, just to feel like somebody's interested in them, just to get away from the thought of the loneliness. Loneliness is very, very powerful. And as we get older, it can happen more and more because our social circles oftentimes shrink and diminish because people pass away, people move away. Sometimes you move away to a place where you don't know anybody and the whole thing is different now. You're older, you're not gonna really wanna hang with people 20 and 30 years younger than you. Maybe you could. Maybe you can get into certain activities where it doesn't matter what age you are. That's the healthiest thing. So a lot of times, there are people that get caught up in scams for their money, scams with their body. And there's some people out here who just love to manipulate anyway. And it reminds me, and I mentioned this a couple shows back, and I guess Mike Tyson, with all the money he had, he was at his height. This was in the late 80s. And I think he made a mention of this at that particular time, because as a boxing fanatic, I watch everything. And the personalities, the business aspects of boxing, you know, each fight that happens, this means something now, because if you won this fight, the next match is already getting set up, and now we're on to the next one. So how are the promoters acting with each other? How are the managers acting with each other? What are the politics? That's mainly what it is for me. The inner workings of it, not just the guys punching each other, which that's interesting, because if one guy wins, business is going this way. If another guy wins, business is going that way. But I remember him saying that he was in a room full of women that were all groupies, and they were all there for him. And they I guess they wanted a good time. They wanted money. They wanted to, you know, have these lavish things because he's got all this money, and then he's getting high and doing this thing. And he admitted that he told this one woman, right? And there were other women around, but he was closest to her, and he whispered in her ear, "Lie to me and tell me that you love me." Like that encompasses this whole discussion right now. Lie to me and tell me that you love me. Man, that thing hit me so hard. I'm like, whoa, you got to be a hell of a guy to admit something like that, because there are a lot of men out here and women out here who feel that way. Now, he would feel it probably more so or quicker than most men, because he was a target and he had millions of dollars and lots of fame. If you lived through that time, you remember the heavyweight fighters today don't get that kind of attention, right? And boxing was different. We had HBO and Showtime, and although we have the internet more so now, that was a heck of a time. So lie to me and tell me that you love me. So you already know that this is nothing genuine. You already know that this is paper thin, and you feel that this is not attainable. Maybe Mike Tyson felt, and I'm only speaking about Mike Tyson because this can reflect on this discussion even more into the people who let loneliness put them in a place of fear where they tolerate things they shouldn't have to tolerate. But look at the place he's in. He was so used to, and I'm assuming this, for him to say that, he was so used to people lying to him and telling him that. So he just put it out on the table. Let's just do this. Let me enjoy the illusion of love. You don't know me. You just want money from me. You just want to be able to say that you went to bed with Mike Tyson, and, you know, you might be sneaking some pictures, but we didn't have phones like that back then, you know, but whichever way, right? Because I've known people personally. I know one lady who admitted to me that she had a little one night stand or a couple days stand with Mike Tyson. And there was another older woman back in, I'd say, this had to be the early, this was the early 90s, like 94, 95. It was an older woman who admitted that she had some short affair with Muhammad Ali. I think it was like a day or two or something like that. And that was her claim to fame. Could you imagine how many people are out there that even on that side of things, that's all they wanted? They want to just be near somebody famous. So you have all of these different dynamics with loneliness. A man who has millions of dollars that was probably so lonely in his life that he could have women's bodies, all of these women, and you feel lonely. I went through a stage in my life when I wasn't rich like Mike Tyson. I was never rich or famous, but the female companionship wasn't hard for me to attain, even on a multiple level. And after a while, I understood what that loneliness was like. You see bodies and women coming to you and they think they're, and I don't know what the motivation was. I know I had a good personality and good conversationalist, and maybe they felt I was going places in life or whatever. I don't know, but that was never a problem for me. So My most loneliest times have been around those scenarios. When I had to step back and I said to myself, I don't want to be around this kind of company no more. I mean, as a young man, at one point it was like, whoa, this is good. I'm doing stuff that most men would dream about doing. And then you see what's behind it, that even that. So this is why I can control myself as I got older, because I know that kind of loneliness. Again, it wasn't because I was rich or famous. So we all can learn lessons from our experiences, no matter if they were large or small. But this is what makes me look at the pairings of different people, and we know in Hollywood, or it's so-called celebrities or famous people or rich people, it's not always that way. They can find true love also. But usually when they have those advantages, they'll find themselves lonely because people are coming at them in a way that's insincere. So you have to look at that. And as I get older, I just see so many different levels of existence, so many different pairings, and so many different agendas and hidden agendas and secret motivations. And I'm not paranoid walking around like it's always got to be something deep. They're coming at you for an insincere. No. But knowing these things, and you don't put the foot on the gas as much looking, because I don't look for these things. They come to me. I see things with people around me, and I see things with other people and their pairings or their business relationships or how they deal. I don't look for it. As a matter of fact, it's always come to me, but it comes to me faster now because with more experience, your eyes and your eye gets more attuned to these things. It's like a doctor, a really good homeopathic doctor, a healer, where he could just look at you and tell, oh, you do have that swelling in your neck. You do have some thyroid issues they're not here already. It's coming. Oh, your feet are swollen. Then you may have problems this way or that way. This is your body telling you so. I could see it. Or your eyes are yellowed. Are you jaundiced? You know what I mean? Like, do you have this thing which gives indications to liver problems? So he doesn't have to look. He can see it because of his expertise in that area that he specializes in, and sometimes overlapping areas. Because when you learn about the human body, you just can't learn as a doctor or somebody who's a health practitioner just to look at one part. And off topic, that's the problem with Western medicine, because they only look at one thing. But the one thing is going to cause problems in other parts of your body, just like a car. But it's easier to focus on the one part of a car and take out and replace. It's not so easy with the human body. And this is the way it is with us emotionally, but we can't see it. We can't see it. I had a theory that I'm even questioning now, but yeah, I have to question it now. It is not as cut and dry, but it's an old theory that I had that, let's just say a nightclub, right? And folks in their early 20s, 30s, whatever, but usually the younger crew, and sometimes a little older, but most older folks don't go to a nightclub, especially if you're 60 years old plus and everybody in there is in their 20s. You usually don't do that unless it's a business thing, or you're going to make a deal with the owner, or you are the owner and you do want to go there and see how things are going. Understood. But it's a funny thing, because I always said to myself, I see these women at the nightclub, and again, I have to question this now that I've learned more because the society's different. But I used to say, women dress up sexy because they're looking for love. They're not looking for sex. They're looking for love, but they know that the sexier they look, the more attention they'll get, and the possibility of finding love is even faster. Now, this is not how all women operate. Please let me just make that clarification. But for those who operate that way, right? And men will come to you Not out of nowhere, like, you want to dance? Or they'll come to you with love. They don't say, oh, I love you. They're not going to say that. But as they talk to you, get to know you, they push the emotional. They push the whole love thing because they want sex. So you see how it is? And this is why I've always said that the man, not that you want this kind of attention, but the man who kind of gives you the idea that he wants something physical and that's all is probably your best friend. Not really. I'm saying that to be funny, right? But he's not going to waste your time. You know where you stand. That guy who's talking all the love stuff, even moving toward or forward in a relationship that you think is real, and all he wants is sex, all he wants is your money, all he wants is that place to live or place to stay because he has no place to go, that's the one that's going to waste your time, right? Now, in this transactional dating app society that we live in, I'm going to have to change that, because now the women who dress sexy and exposing themselves more, they may not be looking for love. in this day and age, a lot of them, not all of them, they looking for money. And that's a whole different topic, but I'll touch on it. They've been hurt. And it's like, wait a second. I've been hurt, lied to, used. You know what? This is what you want? I'll give it to you, but give me something to help me pay my bills. Let me get something out of this thing. You see, I'm not condoning it. I'm just explaining it. And that's what I do when I speak about human nature. I speak about the conditions of what make as much as I can comprehend, because I think about these things all day, every day. I always have, So I like to decode. It's like the world, not just the world, but the people in it. It's like Rubik's Cubes. You got to figure this thing out. You got to dismantle this thing to understand what it's like, what it's all about. It's like, for example, if America had a plane or some type of military weaponry that flew, something advanced, and it drops down in another country, they're glad that it did, because now they can take this thing apart and understand how it works so brilliantly, and they can use that technology by breaking it down for themselves to build their own weaponry that will equal or surpass what dropped in their lap. See? So when things happen around me that I can observe, even if I get a little piece of it, I don't have to know the whole situation, but I can see it for what it is. Like the old grandmother on the porch that I always speak about. And her granddaughter brings home a boyfriend, or he's walking her home from school. She's real young, and she's so happy. This is my grandmother, so and so. Hi, how are you doing, grandmother? I'm okay. Then the boy walks away, and the granddaughter says, Grandmama, why do you talk to him so dry? Because that boy ain't no good. He don't love you. He ain't into you. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. See, she can't see that at that point. But grandma has so much experience that she can just take one look at what it is and understand what it is. See? It's the same way when they dig for fossils and they find dinosaur bones. And they know other dinosaurs that they found, other species, other this, other that. And from those few little bones they find, most people wouldn't even know what it is. But from those few bones that they find, they can construct the whole dinosaur because they had prior knowledge. And they're going on what they see. Well, these bones are a little bigger, so this dinosaur had to be so many more 100 pounds than the other one that we found. And again, going back to the manipulators, they have the experience of sizing people up, and they look for certain traits, certain reactions. And I've spoken about this before. There was a guy who was locked up when I was working in the jail, and he finally got out. And by this time I was driving the bus, and there were people waiting for the bus. And he walked up to this woman, and his game was meeting women at the bus stop that he can talk to all day long and try his luck. So if he can get 10 phone numbers a day, so be it. 2, so be it. He was going to find somebody to use, to manipulate, to get them for their money, to get sex from them, which really was not the highest thing on the totem pole with him. He would use sex, and see, men use sex also to get next to you. And you're lonely and you want the companionship, but the sex is not bad. And it's how can I say? It's an accelerant to your heart. If you're so wired that way, you may not be interested in the whole sexual thing, but it physically feels good. And you can make soul ties. And these manipulators, they use soul ties to their advantage. They want to be tied up to you, right? Just like a guy, and I'm gonna get back to the other point, just like a guy I know, same type of situation, out of jail, in and out of jail. I knew him well because he worked, he didn't work, but he was in the area I worked in the jail. He always came to that part. He tried to knock up as many women as he possibly could. And I don't want to say it this way, but you don't know him. But homeboy, I don't look at men. I'm not into that. But this dude was homely. Who am I to judge? You know what I mean? Everybody's ugly to somebody, but homeboy but he was getting these women. And last count, I think it was almost 40 kids he had. That was his security. And I got a girl in Tampa. I got one in Miami. I got 3 in Atlanta. So he can travel. And because he had children with them, they never denied him the visitation rights, even if they had a man. Crazy stuff. But this other guy, that was his thing. And he would test women. He would walk up to them. Oh, good morning. How are you doing? You look so nice. You heading to work now? I'm heading down. I'm heading off to someone. He'd lie about it. He didn't have a job. And he might have a drink in his hand, like a carton of maybe a soda or something like that, because they had a little place down there where you can get like breakfast and everything like that. So he had like a little soda in his hand. Oh, I gotta run to the bathroom real quick. The bus doesn't leave for 10 minutes. He wouldn't even say, could you hold this for me real quick, and just put it right next to her, standing up in her space. And she'd grab it nervously. That let him know that not all the way I can just abuse this woman, but some other women like, you better take your thing with you. I'm not holding that for you. And he would back up because he knew he couldn't go further with this woman with manipulation. See? So he'd have a pocket full of money. I don't know where he got it from because he wasn't working. But he would act like he was short on the fare. Oh, sweetheart, could you cover me? Because I have to get to this appointment. And she'd reach in, get the money, and hand it to him and cover his fare. That was testing the woman. Because some women are like, listen, I can't give you this. I don't know you. A lot of scammers out here. And he knew she was too aware. So just understand that people can come around us on any level, not just because of loneliness, but to test us to see how far they can get away with certain things, because down the line, they have a certain agenda. And again, there are pure people out here who have pure hearts. Okay, case in point, yesterday, perfect example. I was about to head out. And many of you know I don't even have a car now. I don't even really want one because the vans come, it's so cheap. You know what I mean? I don't rip and run every day. A lot of times when I come home, I'm home for 3 days and I may go out and do something, whatever. I'm gonna get something soon. Well, I got ready, took my time, groomed down, did my little morning piece to put up online, the discussion we had, and I hit the key in the door, opened the door, and heard thunder. And on that side of the house I hadn't seen in a while. One side was sunny, and the other side, the sky was black. I mean, and we're up in the mountains, so we're right up on the clouds. So I took a step from under the porch, and a big, fat drop of rain hit me. Pow! Then another one, pow! Pow, 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 pow. Oh, man. I have an umbrella, but I didn't want to go out. I didn't have to go out at that particular time, but I wanted to. You know? So So I turned around and I said, you know what? I can walk the short distance to the road and stand there and get a van. Vans come fast up here. I said, nah, I don't want to go through that hassle. And it was already late in the afternoon. So I said, let me just go back inside. So whenever I recalibrate with anything, I lay down. I didn't take my clothes off or anything. I just laid down. I said, let me figure what I'm gonna do for the rest of the day. I had things I was gonna do when I came back, but I said, okay, if I get into that and the rain stops, I'm staying. I just laid there for a while. And I looked at my to-do list of things that I have to do in the next couple of days, next couple of weeks and months. And I laid there and I actually dozed off. I think I dozed off for an hour. And I woke up, I didn't hear any rain anymore. I heard a little thunder, but the storm had passed. And everything around in the sky over me and around the perimeter was clear. And it wasn't too late. I said, you know what? Let me still go down. And everything went perfect. And it worked out perfect because things that I had intended to buy and purchase in the weeks to come that weren't really necessary, I got them at a good deal. I was like, wow. Ran into some people I knew. So things could work out that way. But my thing is you have to be intuitive with yourself and your own private life, and you have to be intuitive with people that come around you unless you really know them. And it takes time to know people. I've known people for years and found out that I didn't really know them. You know what I mean? So be careful out there. Be careful out there and look within yourself. We all sometimes get lonely because of certain things, you know, and lonely in different ways. You know, look at a woman who works in a daycare all day, right? Say she's single and she works in a daycare, and people say, well, you're around the children all day. You're talking to them. You're laughing with them. But she wants a deeper conversation, a deeper connection. You're around children all day, but that conversation and that interaction can only go but so far. So this makes a woman in that situation, she welcomes more adult conversation on whatever level. And a manipulator would see that and use that to his benefit. This is why there's certain scenarios or certain types of professions, certain types of ways of living that makes a person more susceptible to being a little lonely in certain ways, right? So we don't look at those things, but other people do. And again, going back to Mike Tyson, lie to me and tell me that you love me. I should make that the title. I already made the title of this already, but I'll put it up there somehow, some way. But anyway, I'm gonna roll right now, and I got a few things to do. I'll be back later on. And I love these deep discussions. And if there's any aspect of human nature that you want us to discuss, just let me know and we'll discuss it. And I'm looking forward to more deep probing, meaningful situations instead of just the AI pranks and the hood fights and the breaking news gossip and these channels that are like just put up for sensationalism and they're fake and they use these thumbnails to get you to click and it's clickbait. I want to do the real human thing where you can feel my human vibration and we can go deep and vibe and touch each other righteously, where we come away feeling full, like, wow, that was something. I never thought about that, or I thought about that and I didn't think anybody else thinks this way. The real connection, right? That's what I'm all about. So anyway, just let me know what you want to speak about. And I really enjoy doing these and I look forward to connecting even more. But don't forget to go to LANCESCURVX.com and put your email in so you can get everything, all these videos and the writing and the articles and everything that we do, because there will be a lot more expanded stuff as the next few weeks go by that I can't put up on YouTube. So I enjoyed this. Much love to you all. Take care. LANCESCURV out. Peace.
Scurv.